But first, just when you thought it could not possibly get any worse for US President Joe Biden. I mean, he had that terrible debate. Then Democratic lawmakers abandoned him, donors abandoned him, the left-wing media abandoned him, but it's just got even worse. The entire cast of Ocean's 11 have now abandoned him, or at least George Clooney has. George Clooney wrote a devastating column in the New York Times. The headline read, "I love Joe Biden, but we need a new nominee." Now, what's amazing about this column is that less than a month ago, George Clooney and Julia Roberts were front and centre of a fundraising campaign that raised $30 million to help Biden in his re-election campaign. Well, listen to what George Clooney wrote in the New York Times yesterday. "It's devastating to say it, but the Joe Biden I was with 3 weeks ago at the fundraiser was not the Joe Big Effin' Deal Biden of 2010. He wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed at the debate." Now, I could go on reading what George Clooney said, but why don't I just show you what George Clooney did? Liz, that pretty much sums it up.
Look, I don't put any more stock in celebrity disendorsements than I do celebrity endorsements. But Clooney's clearly realised, well, let's be gracious and say that he just realised 3 weeks after raising $30 million for the Dems and watching that disastrous debate, he's clearly realised, I don't want to be seen as backing this kid either. And in doing so, he's joined a very, very long list of people who have actually knowingly lied. I mean, what a fraud. We're supposed to believe that all of a sudden, just over the last 3 weeks, George Clooney's been like, wait a minute. Where have you been the last 4 years while this poor old man has slurred and stumbled his way through the most prestigious and important high office in the world? I don't buy for a second he's just come to his senses and been like, well, actually, 3 weeks after raising $30 million for the Dems, I have to disendorse him now. I just can't go through with it. He always knew. They all always knew. The mainstream media, the guy's press secretary, everyone who works for him, his friends and family. They all knew the president has been struggling for a very long time. So this, pretending I'm just had my come to Jesus moment. Great act, George Clooney. That's what you do for a living.
Well, I don't think he's done that at all. I think the video is actually the most accurate representation. Clooney hasn't just decided to, he hasn't just sort of sat up and like, I might knock out an op-ed for the New York Times. He's clearly doing this at the behest of the Democratic Party. They've clearly asked him to do this because they know that it's going to take a name and as much momentum as they know that will gather.
So why have they lied for so long? Because if you are in
it's not about the lying. It's just about it's nothing to do with the lying. It's nothing to do with morality or honesty or anything like that.
This has been a massive cover-up for a very long time.
Who cares?
Now we're supposed to understand. Who cares?
They're just trying to win the next election, right? They thought maybe we can get away with it like we did in 2020 and we keep him in his basement for as long as possible, stage manage his appearances.
Yeah, he hasn't yet reached
They've now realised there's absolutely no way they can do that. Biden's not going because he is deranged and senile and his handler, Jill, won't let him. And so they need to,
how long has he been that way?
They need to blast him out of his hole.
And lying about it.
Well, we all know. We've all seen it.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're stating the obvious. It's like saying the sky is blue.
No, this many people who were complicit in propping this poor old man up on the world stage for years and years are suddenly, like George Clooney, turning around and being like, sad state of affairs. Actually, I think we might need someone else. Here's one of those Democratic reps, Daniel Goldman, being pressed by a reporter in the hallways of power, being like, what do you make of George Clooney's comments?
I appreciate hearing Mr. Clooney's opinion, and we'll continue to deal with this within our Democratic family to make sure that we beat Donald Trump and protect democracy in the future.
Do you think people close to President Biden are being honest about his mental state?
Just to beat Donald Trump and protect democracy, because those two terms, according to the Democrats, are synonymous. If Trump is not beaten, that is the end of democracy as we know it. The world is falling apart.